What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the XFL Newsroom One-On-One. I'm James Larsen, host of the show, and today I had the privilege of speaking to the Dallas Renegades legend himself, Chris Woods. He was a defensive coordinator over there, raised in hell for the Renegades, and it was a great interview, lots of awesome content, so we're going to get into it. But before we do so, let's cue that intro.
Good.
So, thank you for joining the XFL Newsroom One-On-One show. Everyone, this is Chris Woods, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Renegades in the past season. And, man, how has life been for you the last year? It's been obviously pretty crazy for everybody. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting time, that's for sure. The league folding when it did wasn't an optimal time for anybody, as far as finding jobs, and it was kind of out of the hiring cycle. I landed up here at Kansas as an analyst, for the time being. But I kind of think everybody's wait and see. There's not a lot of information going around right now, but I think everybody's just kind of wait and see what's going to happen with the league. But it's been crazy.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I think for obvious reasons, COVID has just turned the whole world upside down, unfortunately. So, and it sucks that it came when it did for the XFL, because you got the whole league, which has really taken off, and it's a shame that it happened the way it did. Speaking of the league, obviously this is the XFL newsroom, so we're going to be talking about the XFL here. I'd love to know what your experience was like with the league. Being a coach in a brand new league that's just starting up. Like, what was that like for you?
It was a great experience. I think I was the first assistant hired in the league, if I'm correct on it. I'm pretty sure I was. So, I kind of was in on the ground floor with, Coach Stoops was named early in the process, and not too long after that, he brought me on. So I just thought it was really cool to see a league get built from that perspective. I had never done it before, so certainly made some mistakes, but learned a lot. Quickly we had a really good group of people around us, which made it made it pretty easy. But I really couldn't say anything bad about it. The league was great. They treated us very well. Everything seemed like it was first class and well planned out and well done.
Yeah, that's kind of the attitude that I've gotten from talking to people who were involved in the XFL. And question I want to ask you, when you mentioned Bob Stoops, and obviously, he's a guy that's just been proving it at every level he's coached at, fantastic with the Oklahoma Sooners. What was it like being able to coach alongside of him in a league like the XFL?
It was great. I had known him before. I worked for him at OU for his last 2 years at Oklahoma. So, it wasn't a blank slate. It's not like we didn't know each other.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons that I jumped in, a chance to work with him again, because I do hold him in such high regard. But he's great. I mean, he is a consummate football guy. But the thing that is so cool about him is, how consistent he is and how much he lets you coach. He's obviously a sounding board, and I used him quite a bit for that. His office was right across the hall from mine. So, I was always in there asking questions, and he'd poke his head in. And, he's a defensive guy at heart. So he was always interested in what was going on with us. But as far as it went, I mean, he's kind of a hands-off guy and expects results, but he's going to let you try to get those results the way you best see fit. And, just a really good guy to work for, family guy, priorities are in order. Can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that, from everyone that I talk to, he's just a class act and fantastic coach. Obviously, you guys were in Dallas. What was it like being able to, start like a new franchise there in Dallas with, the fan reactions? What did it feel like being able to be a part of that?
Yeah, it was cool. I hadn't been on that, kind of end of it, and really none of us knew what to expect. We did the showcase, which was not open to the public, at Texas Arlington UTA. So there wasn't many people there. But I remember in camp we did do the Saturday, the first open practice, and honestly, I was kind of expecting just a handful of people to show up, and I think 400 or 500 people showed up. And stuck around afterwards, autographs and hang around. And to me, that was the coolest part about the league was the proximity to the fans. One of my favorite things to do was just kind of walk around the field before the game, and there were people out there behind the ropes, but on the field, and just go up and talk to a few of them and see them. So I mean, we had great. Our ticket sales were good, were strong. We had a pretty dedicated and loyal group of fans. We did not reward them with a win at home, unfortunately. But they kept coming out. They were into it. It was a lot of fun to build. And I never really spent a whole lot of time in Arlington. Been through it. Recruited in the area a few times. But what a great spot, a great area to live in, and great folks that really like their football.
Yeah, definitely seemed like that during the season. And speaking of which, of course, it was unfortunate that you had the loss to St. Louis in week 1. I am a Battlehawks fan. I apologize. So, I enjoyed watching the game.
I mean, nobody's perfect.
But what was it like, just like the first game in a brand new league? Like, what was that feeling for you going out there with the game plan? And I know you guys lost, but defensively, you did play a fantastic game. What was that experience like?
It was weird, to be honest with you, because we had seen them twice before. We had scrimmaged against them, and then we had the final kind of go-around scrimmage against them, which was a little more game-like. But we played it close to the vest. They did too. As far as not putting a lot out there, but personnel-wise, you had at least a somewhat of an idea of what to expect. So that was kind of weird to have seen your team, your first opponent for the third time in a couple of weeks, but. They did a great job. We played okay in spurts. There's a couple of calls I'd like to have back. We only gave up 15, I think, in that game. So
yeah,
whatever. But we needed to give up 8. I think we scored 9, so we needed to give up 8. It's how I always looked at it. There's a couple. They had a good squad. You could tell they were together. They had a good plan. What I found in the league, what it really came down to was quarterback play. I didn't make that up. That's pretty standard for all football. You either have a quarterback or you don't, and they did. And he was a solid player. He's kind of a dual threat guy, which didn't hurt us. He hurt us with his legs on the one play, and that's kind of what won the game for him. Good solid team. It was cool because their OC. There was a lot of connections. Their OC had worked for Bob at OU at one point.
Right.
And, I knew a few guys there on their team. Jonathan Hayes worked for Bob at OU at one point. So it was there was obviously competition and both sides wanted to win, but it was very good natured. There was a lot of camaraderie before and after the game. So it was good to see them go on. If you're going to lose a game, you want to see that team continue to do well, and I know they did. And we were hoping that we were going to maybe get a chance to see them a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, especially in that sort of situation, it's like I think your defense did play great. I know you just mentioned, you had to give up 8 points, but St. Louis had one of the best offenses in the league, no doubt. I mean, between Jordan Ta'amu, who, like the first time I saw him play again against Dallas, like some of those runs, the way he just evaded sacks and pressure, just a very difficult guy to play against if you're on defense because he can do so much. But overall, at least from my opinion, your defense was by far one of the best in the league. I mean, you shut down St. Louis to only 15 points, the best defensive performance against them from really anybody. Except DC in the last week held them to 6. But like the one game that really stuck out to me was Houston, even though you guys, unfortunately, that was one where you just couldn't get it at the end. But after I watched the entire game and I was like, man, your defense put up one hell of a fight in that game. I mean, down 15-0, you had all those turnovers in the beginning. What was it like for you in that game, just trying to keep your squad together, fighting all that adversity?
Yeah, that's the one that I always kind of go back to, and I mean, you're always proud of your guys, but that one really stands out of them, gritting it out and just being what we aspired to be, which is a circumstance-blind group of competitors. Wherever the ball gets spotted, that's where you got to go. That's where you got to go play, and we certainly had our share of challenges in that game, early on. And it's funny, there was I think after the third one in the first quarter, third interception. the communication system was interesting because you could hear everything. Everybody could hear everything that coaches were saying. And Bob was, kind of talking to himself on the phone, like, man, I can't believe this. I've never seen anything like this. And I made a comment. I hit the button and said, Coach, I wish I could say the same thing because like a year before I was the DC at Texas State, and we threw 6 interceptions against Troy. We only gave up 12 points off of 6 interceptions. So he said, oh, that's right. You told me that story. You've done this before. So we're good. I said, yeah, we're good. He goes, okay, good. He just went about his business. But yeah, that was those guys kept fighting, and to survive that first quarter onslaught. And then I think they scored on defense too. It was a strip sack.
They had the 3 interceptions, and then in the fourth quarter they stripped Landry Jones. So generally speaking, you hardly gave up anything offensively to the best offense in that league on paper.
Yeah, we gave up. There was one drive they had that they scored. The other one was on the short field. I think that third turnover. But they were pretty stingy. It was always a way we could have found a way to try to win the game. But yeah, I was really proud of them because they just kept playing. I mean, just about everything went wrong for them that game, and they never got down. They never started pointing fingers at the offense. Just it was a chance to go out and play again, and they kept doing it. But I've always kind of tried to build that. I'm not saying it was me. We drafted very well and had a really good group of guys that were competitors. But that stuff doesn't just happen overnight. That's got to be day one stuff and a consistent process of building your culture. I'm a huge believer that culture trumps everything. And we we drafted well, and then we instilled what was important to us as a staff, and they bought into it. And I think it showed on that day. I just wish, again, I wish we could have punched that one in at the end or found a way to make another play on defense to win it. But that was, looking back on it, that was a really fun game. Arguably the best team in the league. Weapons all over the place, and I thought we acquitted ourselves very well on defense.
For sure. And speaking of, Houston's talent, PJ Walker is just hands down, I'd say, with obviously the MVP that season. And, of course, went to Carolina, saw some success there. But I think it's pretty cool, at least for you in your position, you had the best defensive performance against him. And even though he had a few decent plays, I know like that 1 3-point conversion, he ran it in. Such an athletic player, but you did a good job containing him in the pocket. I rewatched the game a little while ago. I was really impressed with the way you kind of adjusted your game plan along the way. Which that's actually another question I have for you. What was it like for you in the XFL? Because it's a little bit different. It was a bit of a different pace than normal football. You got a faster play clock. You've got communication with your players, like in the helmets and all of that. So what was that like for you, having to adjust to those things on the fly in a different scenario, if that makes sense?
Honestly, it wasn't that hard coming from the college background because I know the play clock was slow, but today's football in college, nothing moves that fast anymore. So if you're not moving fast with it, you're gonna get left behind pretty quickly. So that part of it actually seemed like the game was going at a manageable pace. It didn't seem like it was going that fast to me, having come from the Big 12, which is like playing a video game sometimes. So that part of it was easy. And just over the last number of years, you either adapt or you die on defense. And so it's not playing defense like it was when I first got into the business. Everything's changed. So you need to adapt to how you build your scheme and just how you communicate, how you call things. We've been for a lot of years been doing. I like to say we have the ability to check our defense just like an offense does, and you see that when you play. An offense will try to get in the right play. There's no law that says we got to stay in the same defense, and some guys agree with that, some guys don't. I feel like you can if you have smart players that you've prepared well. So the communication piece of it was cool because we've always usually put it on a few guys to be the signal callers, but to be able to talk to them. I forget it. I think we had 6 on defense that you could mic up. It's funny. We always plan for those headsets going down, and they did a few times during the year. So we had our signals and all that stuff. So it was a combination of signaling to the guys that didn't have it, communicating some things to the guys that did have the thing. The thing that I thought helped the most, not so much from like signaling and telling them the checks, because that's just how the game plan is built. They got to know that stuff on the field. It was being able to talk to them as the offense distributed, and
Right.
right before the play to maybe put something in their head, a game plan tip or some, a play that you kind of knew was coming based on an offensive set that they may or may not know, to just be able to tell a kid, hey, watch this guy running, this route or this, that was the cool part. But, it was certainly balanced out. The hard part was there really wasn't a lot of signaling on offense because everybody on offense had a headset. So when they were changing plays, there's some gamesmanship and you're trying to watch their signals and those things. There were no signals because they were just telling their guys where to go. So the advantage, even though we had the communication, there was still a significant advantage to the offense. So, I don't know. I kind of think that stuff's overrated sometimes, and coaches use it as a crutch. We're just going to go play and try to be sound and tough and run to the ball and see what happens.
Which is funny you mentioned that because obviously the XFL, the way they broadcasted things, it was a much more open league compared to like the NFL. So you hear, on the couch, I'm hearing all the coaches' calls and all the plays, but of course you guys can't hear that. So, but I thought that was pretty cool. What do you think of like some of the rule changes from the XFL when it comes to like the kickoffs, the 1, 2, or 3 point conversions, things like that? What did you think of the way they changed the rules around?
I really liked it, to be honest with you. I was like a fan. I was kind of sort of skeptical, I guess, or I don't know if that's the right word. Just you didn't know how it was going to look.
Right.
I kind of watched it in camp. I said, that's we did have an issue. Sam Schwartzstein actually was at our practice. He and Oliver Luck came down, and they were making the rounds, and we were down in Houston at camp. And the day he showed up at our place, we were working kickoff, and he wanted to see it. Well, it was just one of those, Texas days where the wind was whipping, and our kicker was pretty good now, and he was getting into it. I mean, he was putting everything into the kicks he could, and he couldn't get it past that restraining line. I think it was the 20 or 25 because, the wind was howling. And he tried everything. We tried to knock it down. He tried to just, kick it as far as he could, and he couldn't get it there. And it was good that Sam was there to see it because I don't even know what the rule was, what it would have been. I don't know if they were going to move the ball up, but at least he saw that and could that would have been embarrassing if that had happened in the game. And
right.
Nobody knew what to do. So that piece of it was interesting to me. But I really, to be honest with you, I really liked it. I thought that PAT structure, it really added something to the game as far as our planning of how we were going to defend each scenario, and even I think it was Seattle. We started clicking on offense in Seattle in the second half, and we got up to we scored, and usually with the time you're doing the math in your head, the time on the clock, and I think it was a 9-point game. You're usually saying, okay, this one might be out of reach. It's a one-play game, and so you start thinking of that. We got to have our 3-point defense ready, and that's so it did change those parameters a little bit about your clock management, and I really did like the kickoff rule as far as from not taking the kickoff out of the game like I know some people want to, but also making it maybe a little bit safer for the players. And I saw a stat. I don't know the exact numbers, but the actual injuries and things that I know that happened, the XFL was tracking that stuff, were very, very, very minimal, especially compared to the quote unquote normal kickoff. So I think it did what it wanted, concussions and just general injuries because the collisions were limited. I think, I'm not trying to speak for anybody, I think they thought there might be some more explosive returns, and I kind of thought there would be too. And that's a credit to the kickers and the coaches in the league and the players running down to not let. I know we had one. I think St. Louis, I know they had the reverse. They hit the first one.
That was electrifying.
Well, yeah, but you had to gimmick that. We just blocked ours and scored. So, but I think those were the only two. There
was only two.
I assumed there would be more. I just assumed that one guy would miss a tackle and it would be out the gate. So
I did too. I think it was just a matter of I think over time, if we got to see more, of course, after week 5 it was shut down. It's one of those things where it's a learning curve. So
probably.
I think you would have probably seen some more things. You probably would have seen some more trickery like St. Louis did. Once they got adjusted to it, but we never got to see that because, It was
Right.
that.
And
But I love what you mentioned about like having to change your defensive schemes when it comes to the PATs. I thought that was added such a cool element, and also like obviously you guys were on defense, but like for especially for fans, like after you score a touchdown, like obviously an extra point is just it's not that exciting. I mean, you just watch a kicker knock it through, and it's an extra point. The way they did the PAT system, it's almost like a second touchdown. Obviously, it's
right.
not as many points, but it adds that level of excitement. I thought they did a really good job of creating some extra things for the fans that just make the experience overall, more exciting. But to go back to what you said about Seattle, that was a game I wanted to bring up. Right off the bat, Seattle, I think they marched down, they scored. They had a couple early scores in that game. And after that, you guys locked them down. So what was that game like for you? Did anything specific happen there? Or was it just, your defense just pulled it together and locked them down after that?
Yeah, that it's a long trip. Again, it's not an excuse. These guys are pros, and then again, we traveled very well. So we got up there, but we might have been a little rusty for whatever reason taking the field. And honestly, part of it was, we had some exotic things going on, some exotic pressures called, and some just exotic schemes that. And it really wasn't us not executing them. It was more he made a couple really good throws on the pressure, the quarterback. Even their first touchdown, we didn't defend it great. You could nitpick our safety or whatever, this and that, where he was. But, it was a good throw and good catch. And the guys at that level are going to make. I know there was a third down, third and long that, again, we tattooed him as he threw it, and he put it in the only spot that he probably could have put it.
Right.
And got a big conversion, and I think they went down and scored on that one. So, we weren't playing great. Certainly, I think we gave up 12 in the field. It's not terrible, but not to our standards. I think it was 12-12 at the half. And honestly, again, the other thing that's kind of a cliche that I think a lot of people make more of than they are. Everybody talks about halftime adjustments. I don't have a lot of time. And the halftime in the XFL was you barely have time to get in the locker room, get a drink,
right.
Go to the bathroom, and then come back on the field. So exactly. I think it was 10 minutes. So basically we went and we talked a little bit. We settled them down, kind of, told them a little bit about what was happening, try to clean up the mistakes. But honestly, all we did was I kind of took that fancy game plan that we had worked on and all that cool stuff that's for coaches, and I just put it in my back pocket, and we went out and we just called our base defense, stuff that our guys could settle down and execute. And I think we called 2 calls the rest of the game.
Wow.
Which were our probably our top 2 calls. And, I know there was a fourth down. It kind of started the same way. They were dinking and dunking us down the field, and then we got them to a fourth down, 4th and 3, and how Kikaha came up with the sack, and then that kind of opened the floodgates. And man, I'm not sure they got a first down the rest of the day. We really played well in the second half, and it was totally credit to them. I mean, I took the game out of my hands and just gave it to them and let them go play. And and they did, and our offense was able to kind of come to life and salt it away. So that was cool.
Yeah, and that was I thought it was really cool to see on the offense, Donald Parham really stepped up that game, and he had some incredible catches. What was it like for you? Obviously you had Bob Stoops there, but also Hal Mummy, another guy who just proved it at every level he's coached at. What was it like, just seeing him work his magic offensively with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to get to know him. I had been with obviously Lincoln Riley at when he was the OC. My first 2 years, my first year at OU was his as well. So I was with him, and then his first year as the head coach. So it's kind of a different version of the air raid that he runs, but the roots are of the air raid. So to see the guy that I think calls himself the godfather of the air raid. So to see how he put it together, but honestly, we were so separate about just worried about our side of the ball. I didn't really get to see a whole bunch of how he was putting it together. Definitely a quirky guy. He'd probably say the same thing about me. I mean, I was a West Texas guy. I'm from New England, so but found a way to make it gel, and really there's more overlap in camp because we're trying to give each other what each team wants, and how the one thing that I did learn about that system, he didn't really care. I mean, he's just going to go play football, and there's 11 on 11, and He could try to get it to his athletes in space. So it actually helped us on the defensive side because, he had certain umbrella schemes of what he'd like to see, but we were really using it for us to steal. Even when we were trying to be the opposing team, we were trying to steal reps for ourselves in our own game plan, and that certainly helped us. So that was cool to work for a guy like that wasn't so wrapped up in, hey, read the card, be this guy. That helped us improve quite a bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really cool. So obviously the league got shut down in March, and it seemed like it was defunct. It seemed like it was a similar situation to the Alliance back in 2019. But then, of course, Jeffrey Pollock was looking to sell the league with Vince McMahon. And next thing you know, in August, it was sold to Dwayne Johnson and Danny Garcia and Redbird Capital. What was your reaction to seeing that news break? And what are your thoughts on the new leadership moving forward?
To answer the first question, happy, probably like every other fan, that at least on paper looked like it will get another chance. And I wasn't privy to the business decisions and the decisions of I understand why it happened, why the league had to fold this last time, but for just from talking to the media people and everybody that we came in contact with, they all seemed ecstatic about how it was going, with not so much ticket sales, but TV ratings and all that stuff is kind of the name of the game, is what I learned. So I think everything was trending positive. It seemed like a good product. I liked watching it when we weren't involved. It looked like football. It looked like production values were good. So it was a shame it came down that way. But when it got bought, it was exciting for everybody. And I think as to your second point, not really the guy to ask. Haven't had any conversations with anybody, at the higher levels. An email or a text here and there, but not really many people, on the coach level. I think are privy to kind of what the future plans are. So we're all kind of in wait and see mode, I think, like everybody else.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that sort of question when I was doing this earlier on in August was a little bit easier to answer, but right now, I guess you're still waiting here. Are they going to reach out to you? What's going on? So hopefully, I'm hoping they come out with some sort of news soon, because it is March already, which is crazy. Time is flying right now.
Right.
But if they do want to get a season going in 2022, they're going to have to get going one way or another. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I do think. Yeah, I'm not privy to. This is just me just talking off the cuff, but they are beneficiaries of just kind of buying an organization that, not that it's all up and running, but I know all the equipment's still there.
Mm-hmm.
The leases at some places have either been, re-signed, absorbed, all that stuff.
Right.
So it isn't a bare bones start like it was the first time. I know they have some infrastructure things to get going on this. Sounds like they're still trying to hire a commissioner and all that stuff. And I'm sure the TV, I'm sure the media piece of it's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But so I think they probably are a little bit further ahead than maybe Mr. McMahon was at this point when he did it. But we'll see. Hopefully soon, like you said.
Hopefully. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I got one more question for you. A little bit of a different question here. What does the game of football mean to you personally?
I love it. I've chosen it as my career, and I didn't always do this. When I got out of school, I was kind of on a different professional career track, doing something that had nothing to do with athletics. So I made the decision a long time ago to get into it because I missed it. I missed the playing day, and I don't know if you can really put it into words about what it means to you. It's either in your blood or it's not, I think. Right. And the camaraderie of being with a group of people that and the cool thing for me is nowadays you kind of think about these things because you're kind of forced to, but when I played, when I coached, I've coached all different levels. I've coached all different socioeconomic groups, geographic groups. None of that mattered. None of that matters in a locker room. We all have our issues. but when you're with a group of men that are united in a common purpose, I mean, there's nothing more powerful than that. And then you go out and you see a stadium full of people that all have a common purpose. They want to see their team win, or they want to heckle the team that they want to lose. But everybody's united in that, and nobody really thinks too much about all the other stuff that divides us. And to me, that's not why I got into it, but it is something that's kind of weighing on my head lately, about how pure it is. And if we could just bottle that maybe and apply that to some other areas of our life, I think we'd all be better for it. But just a chance to be, competition's in my blood. Never want to shy away from anything. I went from being now I guess you're a good competitor. They used to call me a sore loser when I was growing up, and I'd play games with my sisters, and they'd beat me. I'd tip the table over and throw the chess pieces and all that stuff all over the place. But so that's, some guys are wired that way. I don't know. There's something about it about being with guys. Again, common purpose, that sort of things, and I also do like the immediacy of sports. To put a plan together, devise something that you think will work, and then you get to go out and see if it's going to work right away. And there's tangible proof of if did it work or not. And the fans will let you know right away if it worked or not. But that's really not why we do it. I do enjoy the challenge of defensively, you try to come up with a plan that can slow some of these high-powered guys down. That's the fun part for me.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said, about how it just kind of in the locker room, brings everyone together. It doesn't matter where they're from, it doesn't matter where they're going. Everyone's there with one goal. They're unified, to get out there and win for each other. And I think, I love what you said about that. And it definitely would be good if people applied that in other areas of life. I think we definitely see less strife and chaos for sure.
The cool thing about, it's really probably any sports locker room, football for sure. I mean, football is the ultimate team game. I'm not trying to disparage any of the sports, but you can basketball, you can go get one or two guys and you can just kind of light it up and your team's better. You can have the best quarterback in the world. If you can't block for him, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a true team sport. And the only thing that really matters in the locker room and on the field is what you bring to the team. It has nothing to do with what your background is, what your persuasion is. None of that matters. And that's really cool to me, that you step in between the lines and, everybody's wearing the same color jersey and everybody's pulling for the same thing. And that's really all that matters. And, I used to be a head coach at this rural school in PA, and we went into Pittsburgh and got all these inner city kids that would come up. And they used to love it. And we would talk to them about it. They said, this is like our respite. When I go home, I got to put on the tough guy image, and I got to kind of be guarded and look out. We get to come up here and just kind of be ourselves. And the only danger was, maybe a cow might run you over or something at some point. But they enjoyed that. And that kind of stuck. That was a long time ago. That really stuck with me. And I think that more than anything is what I like about coaching.
I love it. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing all of that. And, I completely agree with everything you said there. That pretty much wraps it up for me with the questions I had. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap things up?
No, I'm good. I'm good if you are. I appreciate your time.
All right. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for sharing everything that you did. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, James.
Take care.
See you, bud.
No time to waste. Tonight's the